Final message. Goodbye.
In order to sustain a middle-class lifestyle in this increasingly flat and fast world.
The idea that Earth is a sphere rely on misinformation. What if world governments suppress this knowledge through science that relies on conjecture instead of tangible evidence? What if astronomy, astrophysics, and space exploration are hoaxes built to deceive the population of Earth? Earth is shaped like a disc or perhaps a pentagon. Mountains ring this ladder and prevent you water from falling on the air.
Wisdom is a little black pearl. I love you more than anything in the whole flat world.
Live in an age to see the day. Outer space is seen as fate. We have all been played, fallen prey to a free Masonic cage. Surely all is gonna break away the more we all awake.
Houston, we now have a problem. They found out space isn't at all what we told us.
NASA all assorted all the stories for the astronauts before they all reported what they saw in us. They orbit. NASA saw the planet. Aldrin saw no more than black. You all are talking bullshit. Quarters where you ought to all be walking as your master plan is thwarted. You're all caught red-handed. I imagine your imaginary bands of Van Allen. Of course they all know has it.
The moon landing was staged. A Stanley Kubrick play. The USA had to make a movie to win the race to space.
NASA, what's the truthful answer you want doing lunar trips? Why? It isn't lucrative. The tax you take is ludicrous. You start the excuse, you lose the tapes and can't locate the data. Saying nowadays it's far too hard to make it all after you threw away the blueprints for the lunar craft. Now half a century has passed, you had a blast. You're talking at your ass. The elephants in the room, they never went to the moon. Prove everything told to you about space will be found true. And you never will, cause it's a lie. Nothing is left the earth and return as that's sipping from years of selling the heliocentric universe soon will be gone. And you never will, it's all a lie. It's all a lie. It's all a lie.
There's never a straight answer.
And you never will, it's all a lie.
They censor here, they censor there. No jokes allowed, not anywhere.
Talking about here. Roll this tape, Brian.
I'm not spitting.
this flat Earth thing?
Spreading back out around the world with Zika contamination.
It's a public health nightmare. And so I think when we all look at this, we have to learn from it. Zika will be the first of many viruses over the years because the world is flat. You know, yesterday this
OJ didn't really do it, whether it's we didn't land on the moon. Flat Earth, it's the Earth is flat, whether it's OJ didn't really do it. It's the Earth is flat, whether it's we didn't land on the moon. Whether it's we didn't land on the moon. It's the Earth is flat.
The Earth was flat as a pizza.
Looks incredibly flat.
To make sense to you.
That's rational.
And I've tweeted that before.
Looks incredibly flat.
like turtles.
In 1492, most people thought the world was flat, except for one man, Christopher Columbus. He was convinced the Earth was round, and that it would be possible to circumnavigate it. He knew he could sail across the ocean to India and bring back spices to Europe, but he had a hard time convincing anyone to fund his expedition. Everyone thought he would sail off the edge of the world. Eventually, he was able to convince Spain to give him 3 ships, and he set sail. After crossing the Atlantic, Columbus discovered America and proved the world was round. You probably heard this story before, especially when you first learned about Columbus. In fact, it might be all you know about him. The reality is, there are several factual and logical issues in this story. Of the Earth was known. This was why nobody wanted to fund Columbus, not because they thought he would fall off the edge of the world, but because they knew the distance was too great and that he'd never reach India. Columbus was actually the one who was wrong, because he believed the Earth was smaller than it really was. Everyone else was right. If there wasn't a continent in the way, Columbus and his crew would have died before ever reaching India. The second thing that this story gets wrong is Columbus discovering the Americas. The Vikings had traveled to North America around 500 years earlier, not to mention, of course, the fact that there were people already there when Columbus arrived. These 2 facts are starting to become common knowledge. But there is a third logical issue with this story that I don't often hear anyone address. That is the issue of Columbus proving the Earth was round. Let's pretend the rest of the story is true, and let's focus on that last part. People say that Columbus discovering America proves the Earth is round. How? If the mathematical proof of the ancient Greeks doesn't count, wouldn't you need to circumnavigate the Earth to prove it was round? Columbus didn't do this by landing in the Americas. For all people knew, the edge of the Earth was just past the continent. America could just as well exist on a flat Earth, so finding it doesn't prove anything. Most of us were told the fake story of Columbus by people we trusted to give us correct information, such as teachers. Remember this. Even the smartest people can have incorrect information.
.com. You know, you're a good Well, I guess, and I mentioned this to you once before. I know you didn't have to stop.
It was an amazing announcement. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Coming up, we'll take a break.
These Japanese pictures, I've seen them. Put them up.
They don't
They're
have
terrible.
that kind of
Show me a
space
real
satellite.
picture. Show me a real picture.
Listen, NASA does not have one of those satellites.
Fake.
Why do you think that's fake? To make it look like this, which is what looks real.
If that's real to you, man, they faked 6 moon landings.
Dude, stop saying that.
A lot of people would have you believe the Earth is round. Well, we'll see. The Earth is not a globe, as you have come to know it, but is in fact a flat disc-like shape. It's kind of a lot like this. Yeah. It suggests that the Earth's land masses lie flat. Earth is not a globe. And this is where people kind of hit the wall on the flat Earth thing. Where's the edge? Wonderful question. I've got answers. This is essentially what the shape of the flat Earth looks like. And of course, if these are the edges, your next question would be like, well, why haven't we fallen off? Well, that brings me to the ice wall. Once you got the land masses, and they're all there, they have this ice wall. And so, this is what they believe it looks like. So you got your Canada, US, Mexico, there's South America in there, and then Russia, the other big old land mass. Just like this. Look at that. These are the principles of the Flat Earth Society. Honestly, seeing it like this, these walls, we got all that figured out. You might say, what about the seasons? This is the most enjoyable part of the Flat Earth theory. It is actually suggested that the sun spins around the Earth. I'm actually doing the opposite of that, but you know, give me a break. So that's good. So okay, so they believe in gravity. So we're good. No, they don't. Gravity is a hoax. We all stay here, not because of gravity. Photographs. So you're saying, I've seen photos of the Earth. It looks like a sphere. It's very circular. Why haven't these flat Earth people seen the photos either? Well, they have. But those photos were taken by NASA. This is a quote pulled from the Flat Earth Society's website. In general, we at the Flat Earth Society do not lend much credibility to photographic evidence. It is too easily manipulated and altered. That is where me and them connect. And on the whole, the Flat Earth Society doesn't believe anything that NASA says.
Secrets Fuck secrets. You think you can Photoshop? Think again. And now I think it's time you get.
There's a thing called the internet. A what? There's a thing called the internet. A what?
Alex Jones told Jesse
The Earth is a flat.
That's believable. That's us.
The Earth is a flat.
That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable.
The Earth is a flat. You understand that? Understand that? And that's the Earth is a flat. The Earth is a flat. The Earth is a flat.
Little potato-shaped object that goes around Mars once in 7 hours.
the man says, and he's Wogan.
It's water.
The Earth is flat.
What? The Earth is flat?
You look like you're in a studio, maybe in Omaha, Nebraska or something. The shot is so clear.
Think the world was flat?
Huh?
Think the world was flat.
Is this a hoax? Are you really in space still?
Think the world was flat?
Huh?
Think the world was flat.
Where's the pictures from NASA? How come they don't have any?
They don't have that space kind of that
they
kind
don't
of
have the technology?
Think the world was flat?
Huh?
Think the world was flat.
What's this flat Earth?
Think the world was flat.
Everything was perfect, including the bread. So he got the idea of this frozen bread, and already he sent some to Europe, and it worked very well over there for some of the starving people.
The South Pole and the South Pole, the North Pole and the South Pole, the North Pole and the South Pole, and the North Pole and the South Pole and the South Pole, and the South Pole, the North Pole and the South Pole.
I like turtles.
And topping this half hour, a new billboard in Detroit causing a lot of controversy. You can see the sign.
Let's go live to 7 Action News reporter Camille Amiri with more on this story. Camille.
Well, Carolyn, that is the million-dollar question. What exactly does the statement on this billboard mean? And it really is up for interpretation because we don't have a definitive answer from the organization who put the billboard up. However, we did do some digging. The billboard is referencing an incident that occurred in, get this, 1948. Now, I did reach out to the organization who had this billboard put up when and if they do call me back and get a more definitive answer on what exactly this billboard means. For now, we're reporting live. Camille Amiri, 7 Action News.
All right. Thank you much, Camille.
These Japanese pictures, I've seen them. Put them up.
They don't
They're
have
terrible.
that kind of
Show me a
space
real
satellite.
picture. Show me a real picture.
Listen, NASA
Find
does
it.
not have one of those satellites.
Fake?
Why do you think that's fake? To make it look like this, which is what looks real.
If that's real to you, man. They faked 6 moon
Eddie, dude,
landings.
stop saying that.
is being leveled. The global economic playing field is being leveled, and you Americans are not ready. Oh, I wrote that down on my little laptop. The global economic playing field is being leveled, and you Americans are not ready. Well, we went on, we did the interview. Afterwards, I got back in my Jeep to go back to my hotel, but all the time I was rolling over in my mind what Nandan had said. The global economic playing field is being leveled. And then it just sort of struck me as we bumped along toward my hotel that what he was really saying was the global economic playing field was being flattened. And then in the crazy chemical way these things happen, it just popped into my head that what Nandan Nilekani, India's premier engineer entrepreneur, was telling me was that the world is flat.
I like turtles.
Subsides, both composition subsides. Personal experience and has nothing to do with the firmament.
Right.
That's all. So I can't explain any of that. I'm frightfully sorry.
From this distant vantage point, the Earth might not seem of any particular interest. But for us, it's different. Consider again that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering.
So when I was growing up as a young girl in Wisconsin, actually, I was 10 years old when Carl Sagan's show Cosmos came on, public broadcasting. And as a 10-year-old, kind of living in rural Wisconsin, I had never really met an astronomer. That's not something you routinely meet. Whenever people tell me, you don't really seem like an astronomer, the wonderful next thing to ask is, how many astronomers do you know? So, my vision of what an astronomer was this man on this television show, on public television, Carl Sagan. And the thing that Carl did better than anybody else I'd ever seen was this emotional connection to the science. He loved to tell stories. He'd tell stories about the history, but also, it was from him that I learned where all of the atoms in my body come from, the fact they were all formed in stars. And when Carl talks about that on the show, we sort of made a joke that there are these things called Carl moments, where Carl sort of gazes dramatically off into space, and the camera sort of close up, there's a close up on his face, and you can see him sort of emoting at how wonderful this is. And these days, decades later, those scenes seem a little bit silly and a little bit contrived. But as a child, I was taken along for this incredible emotional journey. Carl was a real rock star. He had this charisma, and people would just listen to what he was saying, and they would love to follow along with his stories. And that became to me the image of what a scientist was, what an astronomer was somebody that could tell the stories of the universe. So I never ended up meeting Carl. I always wanted to. He unfortunately died very young. He died in his early 60s. And I was a graduate student at the time. I always figured I would see him at some astronomy conference. I'd somehow, wander past him at one of these scientific meetings and tell him how much that his show had meant to me. But I never got that chance. I never left, though, that idea that what a scientist really does is tell stories. It's about the narrative. It's about the emotions. And Carl did that better than anyone I've ever seen.
Dr. Sagan joined our discussion from Cornell University in New York State. So I checked whether he could hear us over one of Arthur's satellites.
Yes, communication satellite technology is working very well, thank you.
In discussing the large-scale structure of the cosmos, astronomers sometimes say that space is curved, or that the universe is finite but unbounded. Whatever are they talking about? Let's imagine that we are perfectly flat. I mean absolutely flat, and that we live, appropriately enough, in a flatland, a land designed and named by Edwin Abbott, a Shakespearean scholar who lived in Victorian England. Everybody in flatland is, of course, exceptionally flat. billion, trillion, trillion, million, 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 billion, 400 billion suns.
Dr. Sagan joined our discussion from Cornell University in New York.
Billion, trillion, trillion, million, 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 billion, 400 billion suns. Billion, trillion, million, billion, trillions of orbiting snowballs. Billion, 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 trillions, million, 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 billion, 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 million, billion, 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 million, million, billion, 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 million, million, millions, billion, million, 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 billion, billion, 4 billion-year-old tree. Tens of billions. I have trillions, billions, billion, trillions, billion, 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 billions, billion, million, billion, billion, trillion, millions, million, million, millions, million, billion, 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 billions, million, billions, billion, billion, millions, million, million, millions, billion, billion years, 100 million. It took nature hundreds of millions of years to evolve a bacterium, and billions of years to make a grasshopper. Billions, trillion, billion, million, 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 billion kilometers from the sun. Saturn, 1.5 billion, Uranus, 3 billion.